From Foxboro, I'm Alex Barth. He is Evan Lazar as we're getting ready for the Patriots and the Texans season opener just a few days away. And Evan, the season opener, you know there's players who aren't on the common fans' radar right now that are going to send them scrambling to Google. Who is this guy? Who is that guy? There's generally a handful that emerge each year. Call them X factors. So as we look ahead to the Patriots and the Texans, Evan, give me an X factor for each team, a guy that the common fan maybe hasn't paid attention to this point, but is going to be a household name come Sunday night.
I don't know if he's going to be a household name, but I'm going to give you a name that's going to surprise you. Nicholas Grigsby,
okay.
A guy that almost didn't make the roster.
Special teamer.
A special teamer.
Okay,
so why
only
am
in
I
New
saying
England.
Nicholas Grigsby, because I think the Patriots are going to use a dedicated spy a lot of the time on Deshaun Watson. The fastest linebacker on the roster right now is Nicholas Grigsby. Last year when they had a designated spy, when they went up against Buffalo, when they went up against Tennessee, the guy that they used was Marquise Flowers, who is by far the most athletic and fastest linebacker then, also a special teamer, also a special teams ace.
Yep.
So if they have that dedicated spy, I think some of the time it's going to be Kyle Van Noy, but I think some of the time we might see Nicholas Grigsby, because we saw in the preseason, especially in that Giants game, he flies around the field sideline to sideline. So I think that if you're going to just have a guy be a spy on a guy and not have to go and do some other stuff, you know, in the run game or in coverage, and just kind of have him focus in on Watson, then I think Grigsby might be a guy that gets some snaps in that role.
My X factor for the Patriots is going to be Jacob Hollister. Was a hot name at the beginning of camp, got slowed down by an injury a little bit, but
Yeah,
we've talked a lot this week, Evan, that and he is still limited with the hamstring injury, but we've talked a lot this week about how the Texans, don't necessarily have the personnel to match up with Rob Gronkowski. So you're saying, why isn't it Rob Gronkowski? I could see this being a case. We've seen teams do this before where they oversell. They put too many resources into covering Rob Gronkowski. It allows somebody else to step up. For me, that's the second tight end, Jacob Hollister. He had a big catch last year against Houston, one of his 2 on the season. I could see him putting together a nice game. Nothing game-breaking, but I could see him good for 3 to 5 catches, maybe around 40 yards, even a touchdown. I could see Jacob Hollister putting together a big game. How about on the Texans? Give me a name on the Texans.
Well, I talked about him a little bit the other day, but Bruce Ellington, the third receiver in that mix. So I think that they're going to really focus, the Patriots are really going to focus their game plan, obviously, on slowing down DeAndre Hopkins. You know, when you have a team like the Texans, they really have a guy in Hopkins who is the true bona fide stud in that passing game. And it's not a team like, you know, a Pittsburgh or some of these other teams where we say they're 4 or 5 deep at receiver and they have all these bodies. It's really just DeAndre Hopkins and then some other guys.
Right.
So I really think that Bruce Ellington is a guy that kind of carved up the Patriots last year a little bit. Now, obviously, Will Fuller is back in the mix, but he's not a very consistent downfield threat. He's more of a burner on the outside that's going to catch 1 or 2 big passes a game if they're lucky. So I think that Bruce Ellington is a guy that they might go to as kind of that second fiddle to Hopkins to move the sticks.
Yeah, I was going to go with Will Fuller. I know he's somewhat of a big name out of Notre Dame, was a high draft pick, but
first round
that
pick.
Big secondary receiver is the kind of guy that in the past has given Patriots fits. Fuller's had decent games against the Patriots before. Reminds me a lot of a guy like Chris Matthews in the Super Bowl against Seattle. So I wouldn't be surprised if Hopkins is taken away. Houston's going to give Will Fuller plenty of chances to make plays. And given the uncertainty at the Patriots' second cornerback spot, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Fuller haul in a couple of deep balls against the Patriots on Sunday.
Yeah, not to get too much into the weeds here, but basically the problem for the Patriots in this game is going to be that they have to focus on Deshaun Watson's running ability and they have to focus on DeAndre Hopkins. That's going to leave a lot of one-on-one situations for Will Fuller on the outside. And although he's not a guy that's a possession receiver that's going to catch a lot of balls, he could get over the top of Eric Rowe or Jonathan Jones or wherever the cornerback is that the Patriots decide to put on him that one time, and it could be a 70-yard bomb that can turn the course of the game on a hinge right there. So not to get too detailed about what the coverage schemes and stuff like that.
Nothing wrong with details.
I think that.
Do you know where we're at? Do you know who works in this building? There's nothing wrong with getting into details.
But I think that the big thing is that the Patriots don't want to open the middle of the field, so they don't want to play a whole lot of too deep, which means that on the other side of Hopkins, there's going to be some opportunities for Will Fuller one-on-one.
Who's your X Factor? Is there a name we left out? Let us know in the comments below on this video, and make sure you're following us on Twitter at Patriots CLNS for complete coverage of Week 1 and throughout the season. For Evan Lazar, I'm Alex Barth from Gillette Stadium for CLNS.